it kind of helped them advance. I mean, do you think this was a conspiracy?
Got to go with Jacob Butter. Got to go
No,
lefty.
we're talking about the players. That's tournament champion into the podcast.
There he is, right there.
Oh, he doesn't even know how to watch. Go to youtube.com and search Down Lane Podcast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Down Lane Podcast, season number 5. Of course, I screwed it up already. That's not surprising at all. I'm your host, Kyle Haines, and with me is the assistant to the host, Anthony Scaccia.
It's great to be here. Had no idea we were coming in tonight. I was actually on a stroll. I was going to go fishing, and Kyle called me and said, we got Andrew Hall on the podcast today. So did you announce that, or did I just spoil that?
No, it was a major announcement this afternoon.
Okay, yeah.
Correct yourself. Be proper. It is PBA National Tour Exempt player Andrew Hall.
Wow. I can't wait to see him and his lovely face. But, you called me, and I was on my way to fish, man. And the fish were biting. They were calling my name, and I was ready to rumble, and so I got my shades on.
You know how I know you're full of crap? Is because this place is a freaking disaster, this pro shop.
It's more of a disaster to you. It's organized chaos to me.
That's right. Austin, welcome back to another season. How's it going?
Another season.
Woo! All right, why don't we just get right to it? Let's bring in the man of the hour. He's going to hang with us the entire time. He's going to chat with us about everything. Mr. Andrew Hall, PBA Exempt player. What's going on, Andrew?
How are we doing, gentlemen? That intro made me need to take a sip of water because you made me sweat a little bit. My goodness, you guys are flatterers. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for coming on. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Had a hell of a performance a couple of weeks ago now. It's almost 2 weeks ago, isn't it?
Yeah, it is about 2 weeks. It feels like it's a little bit shorter than that, but it has been 2 weeks, and I'm so glad the week's over. I mean, that's kind of what I've been saying to everyone after who's been asking, but it's a long week, and it's almost I had to go to the computer and get my thoughts organized because it was kind of a blur of a week. I was so locked in.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about it, or a lot of bit about it. I mean, I think a lot of us want to know. There was 3 different centers, four different centers. Does that include the PTQ, or is that 5?
Yeah, no, that does. So they held one in the existing center there,
and a bunch of different patterns. So
yeah, we bowled on 4 different patterns. We bowled on a 35, a 41, a 44, and a 47-foot pattern. Jesus, my phone. We are getting all these done. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate you, brother. So the first pattern we bowled on, we can just take it from the top. It was 35 feet. Let me get the pattern graph up. So something interesting about this pattern was the reverse drop brush went very far down the lane for the short pattern. It went pretty much to the end. So what that meant to me was that meant urethane was going to be good for not that long, just because that long brush really makes a big cliff after a while. I'm trying to find these patterns. Hold on.
Do you remember what the first one was?
He's freaking jumping in.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for this.
No, I'm locked in, baby. You better get ready. You better strap in.
What was that first pattern? Because I'm sure.
So I got it right here. It's 35 V1. It's 33 and a half mils, 35 feet, and it's the drop brush goes to 35, so it goes to the end. That was my strategy going into it. That was my prediction. I practiced on it beforehand. They released the patterns. On a couple different centers, it was consistent. Urethane looked bad after about 2.5 games, and it stayed the same for the tournament. I used it the first couple games of the morning block. Kind of saw it do the cliff thing where you miss it and it goes 80 feet, and you get to the dry right, and it's a short pattern all of a sudden. So from there, I saw guys around me. I was kind of struggling a little bit. I saw guys around me throw hazmat solids, like to a pretty high degree. There was probably 3 of them within like a 4-lane radius of me. So I said, pretty close to that. I had one, pin up one ready to go because there was a lot of carry down. It seemed like there was more house memory in the front, even though there was so much in a small amount. I could kind of feel a load in the front there. And then I threw that hazmat solid for the last 4 games, and it gave me 250 over. Or, well, that ball gave me like 970 or something. But I got to about 250 over for the block.
Now, even for the PBA, that's not really, although I don't know when that new lane guy came into effect, but that's not really that traditional to have a really short drop brush or long, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it'd be long. I
Yeah,
guess.
Eric
Yeah, it'd
Pearson.
be long. But what I guess I
Yeah.
meant by short was immediate, right there at the end of the pattern. They usually
Yeah,
have
for sure.
a little bit of buff.
Yeah, for sure. Like you kind of see that in a lot of other patterns too, right? Like it's what your eye is used to seeing, but it didn't actually create a super sharp. Like it was sharp at the end of the pattern, but it wasn't so much like it was a really tight hook window. It just made it really difficult for the urethane to kind of dig up through the hill if you missed inside, which my guess is the intention of it, given how our environment's been the last, however long, and we don't have to beat that dead horse, but
Yeah.
that was that.
You
So I
did
kind of took that and going into the night block, and something that I learned bowling regionals that the night block and the morning block, if you kind of run the pattern twice in one day, they don't always play the same. If you guys don't notice that sometimes.
Now, did you jump in a whole bunch when you switch balls, or were you kind of hanging out in the same area? How did that work?
I guess I could elaborate on that where I moved. So I started probably with like 12 with my feet with the black. For the first 2 games, got into about 14, and then when I switched to the hazmat, I stayed in the same zone because they were really really flooded in the middle. Like if I didn't get it right fast enough to the dry when I was left around like game 2.5, it never slowed down in my ball. I had the Y shot. So to start for probably about the first 14 frames when I used the hazmat solid, I was straighter, really trying to be forward with my hand. But we switched pairs, and I saw my ball hook instantly. Like it wasn't even like it tried to get through it. So at that moment in time, I went 8 left. I think I went into I was 4. So I was like probably like 23-ish with my feet, and I was just looking at the gutter, and I was just trying to send it to it, and it hooked early enough in the front on the first ball for me to tell that pair was just chalked. And that was a common theme throughout the whole week because we followed the same people. So it seemed like there was always one pair that was so tremendously drier than the rest of them that we'd hit. It was like they were a game and a half ahead of schedule. So that we hit a pair like that. We hit a pair like that, and it really kind of jumbled the picture up. Take over. I'm talking too much.
It seems like sorry, I was just gonna say to change topics a little bit.
No, totally.
But not topics, but just make a little diversion. Pivot, if you will. There was a discussion this week. J.R. Raymond brought it up because he didn't bowl well. So I don't want to say it was an excuse. I'm not friends with the guy. I don't want to, throw stones at a guy I don't know. But he was talking about following or the cross and following people. Now, I'm surprised that you're following the same guys every single day. Like, why is there not a staggered skip to avoid hitting the same players that are using the same equipment, et cetera, to make it as fair as possible? I don't like the E word, but to make it as fair as possible, why are we not doing a staggered skip to try to make the lanes equal or different or whatever for everybody the same?
Yeah, the skips were different every day, but I think people were expecting different lane assignments after every day, right?
Right.
I assumed that going into it. So they actually took it to a vote at the beginning of day 3. They could jumble, or day 2. See, I can't even remember which day it was. One of the days they had a meeting and they voted, hey, we can switch the lane assignments up for it was day 2 because the last 2 days we would switch it up. They offered to switch the lane assignments up, and the majority of the field voted to not switch them, just to keep them the same. It was weird. I assumed that we were going to change before the tournament started. I kind of figured that's how it would be the most fair. They did do the reseeding in the last day, so that changed up the lane assignments. But JR certainly has a point. Like, absolutely, if you follow someone that's playing the lanes a completely different way than someone else who is, and you're following them every game, it's
Right.
certainly going to have an effect, especially at that high of a level.
100%.
Do many people are calling it excuses? I don't want to call it that word because he's a great bowler and he knows what he's talking about. It's really just it's a causality of what happened. It's just kind of
well, and I thought, because at least bowling regionals, we had staggered skips, right? Like, you don't follow the same guy every single time.
No, but I'm pretty sure the skip is the same every one. Like you skip 4
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in
yeah.
this center, then you skip 3.
I think the skips themselves were different each day. Like each day, we didn't follow the same people in the same games each day, but we did follow the same groups of people. So like that random game that I was talking about, the one that hooked so much more, it was sometimes it would come in game 3 or game 4, like kind of somewhere in the middle of the game or middle of the block, I should say.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, I didn't want to say anything negative about him because, yeah, maybe he did just catch that group that.
There are plenty of
happened.
others that say negative things about him. We don't have to jump on the train.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, so back to your experience there. You're jumping way in, and it seemed like was a theme. Like people would start right, and
Can I
then.
ask a question, Kyle? I'm going to interject here.
Jeez, go ahead.
Were they using kegle machines?
Yes, sir. They used a kegle. I believe it was a flexor and icon machine, and they used fire oil.
Well, then why would they do that if for?
That's why.
Trials?
Yeah, that's what I was asking because I didn't know if the PBA maybe switched to kegle because I knew they were using it for a few events possibly last year.
So this past year they introduced the 2 years ago, my first year, they did the all Brunswick machine for the whole season.
Right.
This year they did a variety of different all kinds of different machines, actually different oils, everything you could imagine. It was different kegle and Brunswick. So even though Brunswick is still the main provider for the PBA, I actually can't speak for sure what the relationship is there. I think I talked to Eric Pearson, the lane guy, once about it, and the one-word answer he gave me was variety. I don't know how they worked that out with what they got going on, but it's a nice change. I do like the variety because they do play different as far as the machines go, and the higher level, you definitely notice it.
Right, and then when you were talking about the reverse buffer drop, all right, for the people who don't know, typically that's like there's a buffer in the machine that runs, it spits the oil out. So when we talk about reverse buffer drop, when the machine's coming back, I'm sorry, I can't talk with this in my ear when I talk right now. So when the machine comes back, it's going to actually lower the buffer, which has some oil in it, and then it starts to spin, right? So do you think it dumps more oil out down lane necessarily, or do you think it makes them hold up better? Do you see more duck hook? What do you typically see with a longer reverse buffer drop on those patterns?
Yeah, it definitely makes your ball go longer. It's a bigger launch pad for sure. Kind of moving along into kind of sets up my next point on the 41-foot pattern. I felt that the drop brush on it was relatively short. So what that means to me is your ball is going to start transitioning a little bit sooner because it's going to go out of that main body of the pattern. Just that main body of the pattern is the brush. And on the 41-foot pattern, day 2, it was shorter. And I expected that to kind of stretch out toward the end of the pattern, and your ball would really go straighter as practice ended in game 1. They would kind of transition a little bit fast. But to answer your question, I feel like it's a little more difficult to make your ball slow down, but you can also use bigger balls to do that and slower stuff. So it's kind of a give and take. I just approach it for what it is. And a lot of times too, their attempts are to shut out a urethane ball, especially on the 35-foot pattern. That's my guess on what he was trying to do there. And the 41-foot pattern, he might have used a shorter reverse brush to make your urethane ball check too early, because I saw that. To go into how I played them, I bowled, again, one of my better blocks, 200 and something over. I used a Black Widow Ghost for all 6 games. I used the Black Hammer for 3 frames. It looked good for 1 shot. Hooked instantly the second. Moved left. Didn't do anything. So I think the quick transition with the short brush there definitely accomplished what he was trying to do, at least for me. Snodgrass to my left had a great look with a 16-pound urethane ball, which flares a little bit more. Mine was 15. But sorry, that was a drawn-out answer. It affects it in a couple different ways for sure.
We're definitely looking for those answers. So then the next question I'm going to answer is take your sip of water there. The next question is,
I might need a refill.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, we're gonna have to freaking send it to you. We're gonna we're gonna Uber Eats it, right? We're gonna send it over.
Yeah.
The next question I'd say is, you talked about Launchpad. Now, we have a lot of guys who might not know what that means. So can you explain what you mean by Launchpad on the patterns?
Yeah, so Launchpad is that heavy volume of oil in the front of the lane. So a lot of times when you look at a graph, that main body of the pattern, it's almost the brush and what creates the shape in the pattern. in the first 15 or 20 feet, that's where a lot of the oil is. That's just where it all is. And your ball, that's supposed to hold up for a lot of the strong balls and that's made today. And it's pure structure. There are other patterns that aren't necessarily structured that way, where they're a little bit flatter front to back. But Launchpad is kind of like, think of a lot of oil and your ball is just skipping through that front part of the lane no matter what you do, because there's so much there. So when I'm talking about a long reverse brush, that's a big launch pad. Your ball is really, really going to get through that, because that is a longer distance down the lane. A really shorter reverse drop brush, to me, my ball is going to start transitioning sooner because it's exiting that bulk of the pattern, that big body. So that's kind of what that's what that's all about.
Okay. There we go, Don. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Kyle.
Don Harrington's already
Love it.
starting trouble in the
Oh, Eric. Well, hey, you know, I got him to use a little bit more volume this year, so that might not be so true. He's using Dragon and he's using a couple other ones, so I think he's starting to catch on.
Nice. So I was started to ask. It seemed like a what's the word I'm looking for? Not tradition. It seemed like something that happened all week long. That people would start right and not even transition left. They would just jump to the left. Was that lane surface, oil pattern, bowling balls, all of the above? What was causing that big transition to the left?
I think it was just lane surface for sure. We bowled on some pretty old surfaces. The newest one we bowled on was actually day 2, and even then we got left pretty fast. But the last 2 days were fairly old. I just think in general, long patterns, like, it's kind of complicated. I just think we're just so hardwired to get steep on these patterns, because that launch pad will get us there, and everyone throws urethane to start, so they kind of become cliffed, but they're still 3-1. So the best way to combat that is to move way left and to kind of slow hook it and throw it at it. I think that's what everyone was kind of looking to do. Because playing straight, the balls are just so strong now. Like, it's difficult to stay right for a long period of time, especially with the rev rate. It's a lot of the rev rates for sure. It's so much of the rev rate.
It's interesting to see.
Don, I think, is referring to maybe the volume comment or something like that. He said,
Yeah. The younger guys definitely need a little bit more oil in the lane for sure. If that's what Don's referring to, hopefully that's correct. But yeah, that was the main factor.
It seemed like you were pretty much hanging up at the top.
You say what? Sorry.
I said all week long, it seemed like you were pretty much hanging out at towards the top. I don't know, top 15. It didn't seem like you dropped too much out of there. Pretty much just
I don't know for a fact. For a minute I was saying that I didn't drop out of the top 12 the whole tournament, but I don't know if that's true. There might have been one game where I was out.
But regardless, was that a lot of shot making, spare shooting, both, or
it was well, actually, so hilarious story about the spare shooting the first day. The day before we bowled, I was on Tom Hess asked me to do the bowl TV for a little bit, for like 10 minutes, and he asked me a question about young people and spare shooting, and I basically told him that young people value strikes a little bit more because we bowl on easier patterns, and that's just our environment. The scoring pace is so much higher now, and not that that's not like what he thought I was saying, but I was kind of speaking for the younger generation. So once I got off the air, he was definitely hammering that point a little bit on it, about how that's a pretty common thought. And I missed 5 single pins on the first day. I really wanted to prove him wrong and be like, prove myself that, I'm the spare shooter that I say that I am. And boy, oh boy, just that infamous dash.
Yeah.
But
Kaplunk. Yeah. Let's see. Brett Groff says, when playing straight, was it all urethane or short pin reactives like Tour Dynamics?
Oh, it's all urethane. Tour Dynamics, that's a pretty low intermediate diff ball. It's tough to use that type of stuff on the fresh because there's a lot of volume. It's difficult for that ball to slow down. Urethane is 95% of the time what guys are using when they're playing straighter angles.
So let's if you don't mind, skip ahead to pretty much the last day. What's going through your mind? You are right there. Everybody except for the top 2, like Cripes. What?
Yeah,
Runk?
Brandon and Hayden.
Runk, and I forget who the other guy was, but
Hayden Stipich.
They were like a
right?
couple hundred, I think, above.
Yeah, Hayden Stipich. Yep.
Thank you for telling me.
But from 3 down to even 10th was like a shooting match between everybody. You know what I mean? People were jumping around the whole day, up and down and up and down. What's going through your mind the whole time to keep yourself committed and in the match and not losing mentality?
Well, the mental game is what got me through there 100%. And I work a lot with Mike Diaz, his gold coach, specifically on the mental game. And it's to treat every shot as a business transaction, and it's independent, and it's a machine. You're a machine that throws shots, pretty much is what I try to tell myself. So there really can't leave a lot of room for emotion, and you have to set yourself into your pre-shot routine so severely that you become a methodical robot, pretty much. Toward the end, I was fortunate to have some wiggle room that absolutely helped me, kind of helped me stay calm when things did get a little bit testy there toward the end. But mainly that, like, especially those last 3 games when I had air, I bowled like 540 or something like that. I just told myself it's nothing to worry about. You've bowled 45 games just now. Just continue to look down. Don't check scores. Just count the frames down. You're almost there. And keeping the calm and the focus was more valuable than I could have ever asked for, because I'm looking around and it was very apparent that guys were frying out and fizzling out, pretty kind of like dropping like flies in a sense. So the mental aspect was so difficult that last day. That's what got guys through for sure.
Yeah, I was watching, and quite literally, you were looking down. Like, it wasn't even in the context of just words like, just keep your head down and get through the match. You were literally looking at your feet when you weren't bowling. Like, don't look at the scoreboard, barely make eye contact with anybody. Just make it through this match so that you can be in the top 12. What was 12, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For the end of the day, it was a physical thing that you were doing, looking down, not just a mental look down.
Yeah, it's just the thought of trying to buy into the mental lessons that I will talk with Mike, and that it's a disservice to yourself to go up there without being 100% calm and confident in your shots and what you're doing. And if there's any type of doubt, anything, you step off and you think about it. There's actually a couple times in the tournament where, well, there was one time and then I corrected it. I was kind of in between a ball change here and there. I went up there still sort of debating it, and it was probably my worst shot of the whole day. It wasn't even close. That little doubt in your mind is just enough to have you give away one. And unfortunately that matters. And even though it's 48 games, sometimes it can matter. I made it by 15 pins, 48 games. It's nothing. So it was really just purely mental. I can't stress that enough.
I think everybody should take that lesson away too. Like, it's not just 45 or 48 or whatever games that's a mental challenge. It's literally every time. Like, especially if you're a head case like me. Well, depending on how serious you take the match, it's a mental challenge every time. So you have to treat it like you said, like it's like you're a machine, like it's a business transaction.
Correct.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, it's an excellent way to look at it.
Are you going to take that from him and use it?
Well, it's not from him. He didn't come up with that.
You just got to pay gold level coach prices.
That's right. Pay gold level coach prices.
I think you
like
should.
that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what, Kyle?
Brett Gross said, "What's a good technique that you use to not check scores?"
The easiest way I can say it is just you have to buy into it. You have to buy into the process mentally and be okay with.
Hey, Austin.
Uh-oh.
We lost him.
He's gone.
Lost him.
He's never coming back.
He's back.
Uh-oh. We lost you there, Andrew. Can you hear us? Check.
He's seeing what's going on.
Uh-oh.
Check 1, 2.
Oh, there you are. Can you hear us now?
That's a nice picture. Hey, Andrew.
Well,
We'll get him
lost
back in a
their
second.
connection. But anyway, yeah, I think Brett.
His phone.
We
may
better
have
here?
died.
Oh, you were maybe.
Hey, we're back.
Can you hear us? He's so nervous. Look at him. His
He's
little
not
Ed Sheeran
nervous.
face.
Oh, stop it. He's a nice guy.
Can you guys hear me? You guys hear?
Yeah, we can
we're
hear you
good.
now.
What's up?
Can you hear us? I mean, hey, what's
This
going
makes
on?
for excellent radio.
Deke says it's Kyle. He will fry out in league tonight.
Right.
That already happened Tuesday.
That happened on Tuesday, and I was subbing.
I got a text message, and the text message from Kyle said,
You guys hear me?
"Yeah,
Yes,
we
sir.
can." Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Perfect.
All right,
No,
you
we're
can hear
good. Perfect. Carry on.
All right.
Kyle told us to install string machines on Tuesday so he can quit. That's literally the text message I got. He was like, 2:30. Now I'm not
1:30.
bowling good. Yeah, 2:30, 1:30. Put strings in so
Kyle.
I can quit.
Kyle, the string machines are your chance to get back into the game, brother. This is the one-hander's chance, the low rep
I know.
chance. bro.
All of you keep
We're
telling
back.
me. You keep telling me this
You
brings
are
the
so
it's the
back.
equalizer for the two-handers.
I
know.
I
It
just
probably
think
won't
that, you know,
be, but you know
Andrew,
what?
it's even more impressive you made it because I think you're one of two right-handed thumbers that made it.
Yeah.
The rest were lefty or two-handers. Am I
Fun
right?
fact, I went to college with him. Chase.
That's
Oh, really?
That's a funny thing too. How many lefties?
I
made
should have
it.
went.
What?
I should have went.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm good, but I'm left-handed. I mean, that's half the battle.
But I just mean that there was. I've already lost count how many lefties there were, but that made it, which is unusual when you have a field of, mostly righties.
You're
But-
just jealous because us lefties are evolving.
Oh, they curl up the
Get a
left side of the
little
lane. What else are you
It's not our
supposed to do?
We
Did you
just
hear
bowl.
me for the answer of Brett's question? Did you guys
No.
get
No.
that?
You said trust the process and then you quit.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
we
yeah.
didn't.
Trust, you have to like completely buy into it yourself. Because I used to be a chronic score watcher too. I would think about other stuff all the time. But until you it's just being honest with yourself and knowing that, okay, I do watch scores and I do get antsy. Really commit to it, and you have to see yourself have success doing it one time to prove it to yourself. That is for sure true. Because if you have to, it takes. There's just a couple layers to it, and it's definitely a higher way of thinking. Like that's kind of what I call it, like bowling philosophy, like a higher way of thinking. There's mental game books left and right, plenty of help to try to help people be enlightened. You just have to get enlightened.
All right, so let's move along a little bit. We're going to chat about some worldly bowling news.
Yeah.
But before we do that, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell to get alerts from the channel. We've got a whole bunch of new stuff going on. We got reviews on the channel. We've got the podcast, obviously. Anthony's crazy busy doing reels. This is just totally unlike him, doing the TikTok-y thing.
You forgot something.
What's that?
You forgot something.
What did I forget?
Congratulations, Andrew, on PBA regional win too. A few weeks before.
Oh, that's right. Right before.
Thank you very
right?
much. Thanks.
You didn't say that.
I know. I forgot. I'm
How
sorry.
do
I
you
can't
forget?
remember everything.
This guy's a freaking living legend.
living
Hey,
legend.
hey, attempting.
Attempting.
Not
was up
here.
there.
Not yet.
The day before he won.
Where was it? I don't remember.
Buffalo.
Oh.
I crossed with Jacob Butterf. I 7-10 7 times.
He's the guy who let me win.
Yeah, he let you win. He let you
He
win.
did. He did.
He was like, hey, man,
Yeah.
this is for you.
He just backed out. All right. So why don't we get into? Let's see.
You said worldly news.
Yeah. I don't know how because I know how many fines they can hand out and attack bowlers they will. But let's talk about the news in the USBC because that's always a fun topic to go after and a fun organization to attack.
Easy target.
But yeah, easy. There you go, easy target.
What up, Greg?
But let's see. It was a couple days ago that I don't know if Alex Cavagnaro was the first one to say something, but certainly the most attention in the matter. Where he saw the initial list of the super brackets where he won like $2,900 for the Open Championships bracket payout, which is the season long brackets, not the day payout, the day of payouts. And then when the check came, it was $0. So
did you see that, Andrew? Did you see
Ka-ching.
that?
yeah, did you? I'm assuming you saw this. I mean, you got
I
to be
did
buddies.
see that. Yeah, I did see that. It was. I'll let you get into it, but it was a nice change of positive publicity to the USBC. It was nice to see.
100%. Yeah, they made the right call. So ultimately, they knew that they made a mistake. They issued or publicized the prize list. They then took it down and reissued a prize list. It changed it for I don't know how many players, but significantly for Cavagnaro. But they ultimately decided both prize lists were getting paid. You're not getting
Your
paid
highest one.
You're not getting paid both, but your highest pay out of either prize list, you're getting that money.
I did see that they said
It's
it
very
was
noble.
around $50,000 that was added to the prize fund.
Yeah. It's very noble. I agree. However, it's almost like the government issuing you checks where like we're all paying for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Hey, my COVID relief was fun.
Yeah,
Well, I just wonder
yeah.
how it happens. I guess I'm just gonna jump in and say I don't know how that happens. I mean, it's a year-long thing. You don't have to post it the first day you're done. Why don't
Yeah.
you give yourself a week, 2 weeks to finalize it?
Right.
I don't know if there's rules for that, but they take 30 days to finalize the actual tournament itself. So wouldn't you think that that money would come after 30 days, or the list would come up finalized after 30 days?
Right. I don't know why they say day after the tournament, we're posting this bracket. It's like, but then we've seen in years past where you have disqualifications. Okay, well now that guy's got to come out of the bracket, supposedly, and now you have to redo the whole bracket. So it's like, why would you do everything after the fact? Why not give yourself, like you said, a grace period of a week or 2 weeks? Get your disqualifications, get your qualifications, get your certifications, get everything done, finalized, then issue the bracket. I don't think anybody's going to be upset that you waited a week or 2 weeks to make sure that you already have to wait if you started in March when the tournament starts.
You have to wait till August or September.
You already have to wait months to get your check anyway, so who cares?
Oops.
You have a point, Andrew.
I was going to say, on the contrary, I think the most fun time of year is right after Nationals finishes when everyone complains where their checks are. So maybe they were just trying to nip that in the bud.
Yeah, you're 100% right. They're like, it's been 6 months. Where's my check? And it's like, well, it says in the rule book that what do they have, a month or something?
30
Yeah,
days
30
to
days,
verify
yeah.
everything, and
Right.
then that's when the prize list must be verified.
Right.
After that, then they send the checks out. So I mean, I don't really understand what people want. I mean, it's what is it? It's like almost 6 months.
Perfection.
Well, it's almost 5 months, 6 months. It's almost half the year.
Yeah.
So how quickly can you really get those checks?
I have no problem giving them some time. Like you said, it's a 6 month long tournament. You've got 10,000, so 50,000 bowlers plus, depending on the year. Why not allow some time? Most of us are making a few $100. That's not.
Yeah, most of us probably forget there's a check coming.
Exactly.
Like
right.
I opened the mail and I was like, oh,
Of
Nationals
the
is done
50,000, 48,000 are like pleasantly surprised if they get a check. That's including me, by the way. So like, who cares if it's a month or 2 months after the tournament? I don't know what the legal rules are of paying out, or if you just have to state it. But anyway, I totally agree.
I think Deke has a good question. He says, how did it get screwed up? Did I read that right? How did it get screwed up? I'm assuming that, go ahead, Andrew. You might know.
Well, I think the last I heard they weren't super strict as to how they check divisions. Like either you check them off yourself and you just go like there's no 2-factor authentication, if you will. So there's probably. So I'm kind of surprised there isn't more issues like year to year. Like
so, not to interrupt, but this. All right. Well, so their post said it was I remember it saying disqualifications. There was issues with that, but as far as the certifications go with divisions, yes, you claim your division. I'm sure you've signed the green sheet and everything. However, as a captain that has gone through all 50 players with the tournament office this year, they actually did check every single player. And if they're, I'm trying to remember the exact way they put this, but if their average
is 10 over, right?
Well, yeah, they changed the rule this year, and the tournament director had to verify it and decided whether or not they were in the correct division or not. Because if your average was 10 pins over
what your re-rate is,
what your tournament average is. So if I have a 215 average out there on the real shot, and your converted average ends up being 225, then they may take your converted average, but your converted average is based on a house shot. It's not your house average, but it's a converted average based on a house shot. But like what?
That was good.
But
Was that Andrew? It wasn't you
yeah,
guys,
yeah,
was
he
it?
was the
All
only
right,
host
all
because
right,
of
okay.
RJ.
Okay. Hi, RJ.
Oh, did I interrupt? Sorry.
No, you're fine. Don't worry.
You totally got me. I was like, who the heck?
Horse. I didn't know we were playing basketball or you play horse in basketball. Anyway.
What's that?
So anyway, so yes, the tournament director actually would double check all of those averages.
So you don't know. Like we had a few guys who were on the fringe, right? They
Mhm.
were like 178 or whatever, and then their re-rate was like 210. But they're really not 210. They've been out there enough times. They're 178. So
Right.
that guy got to decide where they were without even knowing that
Yes,
person.
but if I'm not mistaken, he or whoever it is, the tournament director didn't actually change any of our players out of their actual divisions.
It seems like a nightmare.
But it doesn't make any sense why they even have the rule, because like we're trying to build teams based off of the averages that they've
Right. Well, that's what
earned.
Remember,
out
that's what we
there.
were talking. Yeah.
And then I'm talking to the tournament office and I'm like, okay, so I've got all these teams built, trying to get people into classified and standard. And now you're telling me that we might have screwed it all up because you have
Yeah.
this rule where 10 pins over and they can be moved out of that division. But it turns out like I don't think any of them actually got moved, but still they had to be verified, which was annoying. So to your point, that was a long way to get around it. But
No,
Don,
yeah.
very true. Starting the tourney, however, the bracket people just took your money and didn't check if you were eligible for a category.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, who's to verify until afterward? Yeah, that's a long verification process, I guess.
Well, if they verified beforehand, why is it not in the computer that?
It very well may be. I have no idea.
Well,
They
it
should make
couldn't
a
be. If
bracket
it's
green
messed up.
sheet.
I don't really know. It gets too complicated for me.
The whole bracket system seems extremely complicated.
Well, for them it is. But I have a
That's what I'm
question
saying.
for Andrew.
That's what I'm
Are
talking
we-
about. The back end. Go ahead.
Yeah. Andrew, you went to
Yes.
nationals. I'm pretty sure. What do you see different from the nationals pattern that you see versus like a PBA pattern? And I'm not talking like nationals every year, but I'm like, how do you see? Because I believe they have two different pattern builders. So how do you see those different? Do you see a difference? Do you play them differently if you know it's a USBC event versus a PBA event? And what's your mindset?
Yeah, for the most part, most PBA patterns have more volume to them, just in general, from what I bowl on. I throw a Black Widow Ghost on almost every PBA pattern that I bowl on. It seems like I can't throw it anywhere else. So there's the patterns. The PBA patterns are built in a way where you can do that, and it's mainly I actually don't know how to read the front to back taper of it as well, but I have to have a feeling it has to do with that. Other patterns. So for nationals this year, and other patterns too, kegle patterns and things like that. It just seems like there's more friction throughout the lane, and your ball it's a little bit more blended for your ball to slow down and hook. Whereas the PBA patterns, it seems like you really got to work for it, especially on the fresh. But most guys just throw urethane, so there's that. But to kind of follow that up though, in nationals this year we bowled on 39 feet. My guess was 38. I thought they kind of just tweaked last year's doubles and singles pattern, which was pretty difficult and kind of short in Reno. I threw a urethane ball though, funny enough, right up 7, and I was able to get as far left with 25 with my feet with the urethane ball, and just kind of throw it to 6, 7, and I had some shim in the middle. I wound up bowling
Did you just say
720.
25
Yeah, with my feet.
and just hooked urethane.
Yeah, I asked my teammates first. Don't worry. I did it for a game.
That's the first thing you say. I asked my teammates.
Yeah,
It was okay.
but how did that affect the lane? Seriously, what did you guys see anything?
No, so my goal was to try to keep move my eyes. Well, I say 6, but I tried to move my eyes left too, just to try to keep the ball a little bit closer to the head pin, to try to create more of a funnel instead of dragging oil to the right, which
Sure.
I think ended up happening a little bit more. I was focaling a little bit farther to the right, but it just made them really, really cliffed. Like when we were game 3, when we were hooking them, I was throwing a pin down stealth pearl, and if I missed left at all, my ball accelerated. Like it just made them super, super cliffed, way more than they needed to be. So did it roll good for me? Yes. I think in hindsight, I wish I probably would have tried to take a new hammer, drilled really funky, and just kind of pipe the track game 2 until I could move in, just because I think the urethane cliffed him out really bad.
Interesting. So you said the kegle or the USBC patterns, you see a little bit more friction front to back, and then the PBA patterns you think are a little bit slicker front to back in that aspect. Did that make sense?
For the most part, yeah. At least that's what I've personally been seeing right now. I have like I said, a Black Widow Ghost for the PBA patterns, and I have a Hitter Pearl for the Kegel patterns, and they roll the same on both of them. So
Really? Okay. That's interesting.
All right,
That's
then.
wild. And then what do you see different between the Kegel machines versus the Brunswick machines? If you could elaborate on that. I don't know what Kyle wants to talk about, but I'm going to ask what we
Yep.
got going.
This is a free and open conversation, Anthony.
This is
no,
a
yeah,
democracy.
fire away, man. No, you got it. I'm yours. Wind me up. No, so the Brunswick machines, they oil with individual jets, right? So they have the 39 individuals. In general, super simply, they're tighter. In general, I think it's because the oil that they use is a lot more viscous, so your ball's almost slowing down a lot, and your ball appears really sluggish because it's like swimming through syrup. Like it's kind of slow and sluggish. So slightly cleaner balls looked really good on Brunswick machines just because they kind of they got down the lane a little bit better through that thick oil. You would think a thick oil, like I don't know why, if I'm just a silly kid, but when I was growing up, I always thought thick oil meant that it was harder for your ball to hook. It actually makes it much easier for your ball to hook. So I think that's kind of the main deal with that. But it's difficult too because the Kegel machines, while they oil like a dot matrix printer with one nozzle jet that's sprays alongside the machine going down. And while I think that my ball reaction on the Kegel machines are a little bit blended in general, you can still have them oil like a Brunswick machine. So Brunswick machines only oil forward. There's a forward pass only. You can program a Kegel machine to oil like a Brunswick machine, and the fact that you could oil it forward only, just the actual application is a little bit different. Whenever I've bowled on them, the Brunswick machine has always been tighter, in short. However, you can program them to kind of be similar.
Interesting.
When because I've never seen a Brunswick actually in person oiling. Are the jets literally oiling the lane, or is it like a kegel where they're applying the oil onto something and then onto a brush?
So
or are they literally spraying each board?
So I actually have not seen. Well, I've seen the machine go down the lane. I haven't seen underneath like what actually happens. I don't want to say for sure what it is because I don't want to spread any misinfo, but I want to say it is the pressure in which the jets spray them. Please don't quote me on that though. We might have to check that. I don't know though.
I'm gonna quote you.
I believe we're
every day.
tweeting it at this moment. Andrew
Tweet
Hall
it.
said-
Send it.
You mean
Send it.
Xing it, whatever it's called. But yeah, so like my assumption would be that they are spraying the lane directly, and that is why you can't reverse because there's no buffer behind it to pull it back,
Yeah.
buff it
Correct.
out.
I would assume.
Correct.
So that would be whereas the kegels are putting the oil on a roller, and then that's going on. Or actually, depending on the kegel that you have, the new ones are putting it onto a fine wick
Like a
brush type
brush.
of thing, yeah,
It's
and
like
then
a
that
toothbrush,
drops
I guess.
onto the spinning brush.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about another hot topic, if you don't mind. Down in your dad's fancy basement, there's a
Yeah.
few bowling machines down there and lanes. And
Can we pull up a picture? Is that allowed?
Oh, yeah, we might have to.
That's allowed.
Someone sends me
There's a
picture.
Facebook page, right?
Face.
No. There's nothing yet. It's still pretty new. I don't know.
Oh.
Your best bet is to probably go to one of my Facebook videos or something like that and find it.
Oh yeah, Andrew's got a bunch
I
of
will do
videos on
that,
there.
and I will send it to.
I posted one
Andrew.
I posted one today.
I
On
saw it, yeah.
Instagram.
So anyway, tell us a little bit about that. And the reason why I bring it up in the as a hot topic is because you do have two different types of machines, two different types of lanes, which is actually pretty awesome. I mean, one, yeah, it's nice to be able to practice nearby, but also on the different types of possible setups that you might see out on tour. So tell us about the training facility.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing short of a dream come true, really. I mean, my dad's always wanted to do it, and now that he was able to. and he could tell you way more about it than I could about the actual foundation and fundamentals of it. But in short, we have two brand new Brunswick Pro lanes that have the GSX and XT machines. So they're the newest iterations of them. For those of you that are familiar, they're smaller and a little bit more compact than the GSXs, the original ones. So those are our first two lanes. And then lane 3, we have used SPLs from Rockville Center Bowl when they changed their lane surfaces out last summer, 18 months ago. And then we have a string machine, the boost machine with that lane. So it is the strings, it's the competitive strings, it's the real ones, it's not the funky ones that you see online. I think those funky ones are kind of starting to go away, though. I haven't really seen that many of the silly videos anymore. But ironically enough, real quick tidbit about those, we've noticed some interesting like new forms of stops with the Brunswick machine. We managed to get a pin lodged in the ball door. So if, for those of you who don't know, you throw the ball, it goes into the back, and then it's tilted down and it goes into the door, that brings it back up. Well, that door was blocked by a pin on the string, and it was basically pushing the pin into the pit. And we ended up we trashed a pin already. One time.
Actually, we've heard that. I think your dad heard.
I think I told him. I think he told me. You told me one of the events we saw.
I thought it was a common occurrence that things that, I mean, it's a learning curve. But anyway, yeah, it's I don't mean a common occurrence at your place. I just mean it's a thing that happens with those machines. Like it's like any other thing, like a pin jam or a ball stuck or whatever. It's just, it can happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's for the most part the machine runs really smoothly. I mean, we've also noticed that the racks aren't perfectly on spot every time. But when you hit the reset and the second rack comes down, it's usually perfect every time. So it's almost gotten us thinking like there might be a re-rack rule implemented, because there are some pretty obscenely not acceptable ones that get put down after a spare shot. But other than that, it's a great tool. I can't wait for you to check them out, Kyle. I know you love strings so much, so I just want to show you your number one fan.
I'm happy to experiment on them, and in fact, if I had a training facility, that would be the only way to go.
Well,
especially being able to call a pin for spare shooting, and which I know the new GSXs can do too. But these are way cheaper and easy to maintain or whatever. But I just think having in the rule book that a string can take out a pin is absurd. And
God forbid.
But yeah, God forbid. There shouldn't be anything attached.
I'm just saying, it's in a freaking local center. Relax there, Chief. I mean,
I think the designs will get more refined.
I think so too. I think in a national event, hopefully we don't see them there for a little bit until they're really refined. But for just the most part. Oh, there is the.
Oh, there we go.
The training center right there.
The Brunswick
there I am. I messaged you again, Austin.
There it is.
That is it right there. You've got the nice PBA Finals masking unit back there.
It's a gift from Nolan Hughes, the cover writer for their PBA media guy. I see him every week.
That was perfect. You got to know him real good. You probably got him free. He probably slid him to you in the friggin' back of the truck. Took him home.
Yeah.
But we have definitely heard, whether it's from Ryan Schaefer or others, that they seem to be the great equalizer, at least when it comes to two-handed or high rev players against us lowly thumbers,
us peons. So what do you think? What do you think? I mean, you've bowled on both. You've got both in your house or your basement, your shed, whatever it is, and
shed.
I don't know.
Shed,
dude.
The shed.
We'll call it the shed or something. That'd be cool.
I like the shed. It's good.
You bowled on both, right? And I'm sure you've got some two-hander friends. I know you do. You've bowled on both.
Sorry,
what are you thinking? Do you see any different hits? What is the story? What's the story?
Yeah, you for sure see some different hits. However, overall though, a strike's a strike in the sense that if you're going flush, you're gonna strike.
Mm-hmm.
The light hits look a little bit different. They don't go quite as well. The half 10 hits though, those are very common. That's what's going to be the equalizer is the off 10 kind of plaque 10 hits there, where a lot of guys are able to blow them out. There is just no room for anything. Messengers are very, very rare. We haven't thrown one yet in our center. Yeah, high flush is premium. That's right, Don. As opposed to free fall, where you can kind of throw it, your pocket's pretty big, and you have a higher chance to strike and carry some other off hits. Like light mixers are no longer. They're I don't know what the percentage of those are. They're like 75%. That's I pulled that completely out of my rear. I don't know what it kind of feels like. They're like a 75-80% hit, but with the
Okay, we'll
strings,
have
they're going to
someone
get cut
fact check
down pretty
this.
significantly. What was that?
We'll have a certain someone that fact checks us.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
every
Please
day.
fact check me. I'm asking for it.
The other thing I was going to say is, so do you think it's going to be the great equalizer? Do you think, in your opinion, since you bowled on both, do you really think that it's going to even the playing?
Oh, it's going to
field?
evil the playing field.
Is it
It's gonna
going
make it
to
evil.
is it going to even out the two-handers and the one-handers, since the off hits aren't as good for the two-handers?
To a degree, yeah. I definitely think so. While they're excuse me, I need more water.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your.
While
This is
they're
a
still
hot podcast.
This is good.
I'm parched. Well, so while they're still new and guys are still figuring out what's the best way to attack it, which is high flush. But when guys figure out how to get to that goal a little bit easier, yeah, I do think it's going to be a pretty big equalizer, especially if they start holding regionals and other PBA events there. It could be. I'm very, very curious. It's tough to really say for now because there obviously a lot of proprietors are going to go to them. They're super convenient in that aspect for them on the business side of it. But from the competitive side, I cannot. I can't imagine a world without free fall, but I could also imagine a world with strings in them, and I believe they could coexist. I think they could for a good amount of time. I think like my personal theory is that the free fall machines will either one never go away or they'll only exist in recreational centers, and the high volume made ones there won't be anyone to work on them. So I think they'll just go extinct that way.
My thought, and this is only a guess or
We're just talking hypotheticals here.
hypothetical, is that
Allegedly.
if they put strings on TV, real TV, not bowl TV, I think my personal opinion is that they would be rejected by the viewership. They like the messengers. They like the crazy hits.
That's true.
And
It's very true.
if they just see these pins just plop over, like I know that the strikes look okay, but it's true. Like the light mixers, they're just kind of like, bleh, and like you said, half tens and stuff. And if it's going to be half 10 city, or strike city, then it's just going to be, I don't think the viewership is going to accept it. That's just me. I have no evidence to back it up, but
it's true. I mean, I almost think we're kind of at a crossroads of the older generation and the newer generation. We're kind of like half is okay with it and half isn't. And it's
Andrew, I'm sorry, I have to say something. Sarah just got her very first 300. Congratulations, Sarah.
Yeah, I saw that, Sarah. Congratulations. Nice bowling. That's so awesome. It was so great to see.
Also, I completely disagree, Sarah. I hate you.
Carl's post. She's gone and done it.
I saw that and I was like, what the heck? Freaking Carl.
So incredible. Congratulations, Sarah. That's so sweet.
So you were saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah. What was I saying? I got so sidetracked on the
I think we were talking about
yeah. So
watching strings.
Yeah. So I just like strings on TV. I don't necessarily. Part of me thinks that that's right. So the two generations are kind of together, where the younger generation is getting a pinch older now, like kind of into their early 30s, whereas the like more older traditionalist bowlers are kind of on their way out in a sense, where they're not bowling competitively as much anymore. So I think the acceptance rate
in the chat.
is a coin flip.
Yeah. Don and Deke are in the chat. You better be careful.
You're gonna get in trouble.
Competitive bowling. It's a coin flip, in my opinion. I do think at first it's really easy to say, oh, well, there's a string on it. Like that doesn't make sense. But I kind of see it as everyone's bowling on them. Like purely competitive standpoint, everyone's bowling on them. Everyone's got to deal with it. That I think the PBA will implement some type of either they already had the test regional, the 50 regional in North Carolina, but I think for a national stop they'll introduce some type of test tournament for that. And then if the reception's well and things go well, it's really hard to say if the national stop will introduce strings because it's such a drastic change. Kyle, I'll give it to you. Like it really is a big change for what the game has been based off of, for sure.
100%.
Now, most of those centers are boleros. I mean, most of them, if they do get a renovation, are going to be strings, from what I read. Now, I'm sure I'll get fact checked. That's just what I saw as they renovate the centers and the strings go in. So, do you think that since most of your events, I think, are a bolero, they're going to try and push for it just to make sure that they can, make sure that they comply to their own rules?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the bolt, like a process for them, I can't imagine they wouldn't push for strings just for a purely business standpoint. I can't say for sure, but that's what I would have to assume would happen. My brain is, there has to be some pushback from the top, though. I can just see it happening with the strings, and it's going to be a really, really slow and easy, not fast change into the tour. I think if we change that really fast, it would be a total disaster. Everyone would be up in arms. It has to be a really slow. Everyone's kind of got to get used to them for a while. People don't like change, and this is kind of the same deal. So
what are you talking about me?
I'm talking about me.
I was actually very surprised how fast it happened here. I didn't think there would be a bowling alley here that would switch that quickly. I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened. I just thought it was quicker than I expected. All right, so let's get into the last topic of the night. This is probably the biggest news of all that most people already know about. Anthony Scaccia is no longer a Brunswick staffer.
Thank you.
And you're
Thank
talking
you for announcing
to the best Brunswick staffer.
You left us.
I'm sorry. I still love you.
I miss you. That's all right.
I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you how you're enjoying it.
15 pounds.
Jesus, we're trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, shut up. I'm talking to Deke. He went back to 15. Deke,
Yes.
I've been back to 15 for the entire last season.
Was he throwing 14 before?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Oh, nice. See, there you go. You don't need that low weight, buddy.
I tried it for a summer just because I was a lost soul.
That was his epiphany of the week.
I was a lost soul.
Yeah.
No, I still am.
We're still doing grip
100%,
changes. It's a whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I'm not. No perps. I do have them in my basement. I look at them every once in a while.
Gotta have the signed one.
I have the signed one in the basement. We're gonna put it up for auction. See if I can make any money off it.
Try to make another 20 grand.
And you just gotta remember, I can sand that down. You know, it can always be reused in 15, 20 years.
Anthony, you should try to sell and make another 20 grand with it.
It is a historical piece. You know?
It is. It's got a lot of scratches in it because I fixed it the day before I went, and I freaking hit it with the plug cutter twice. So the finger's gashed, the freaking thumb is gashed, but it rolled good that day. That day it rolled good. But yeah, it's a new chapter. We'll see how it goes. I was gonna ask you one more question.
Yeah.
And he lost it.
I did because you jumped me. You jumped over me.
Yeah, well, it's the end here. The kid can't sit with us all night long.
Yeah, he can. He can freaking come down. He can sub in league. Anybody need a sub?
Have they?
Thursdays? I could sub. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud.
Hey, if we need a sub, I know a guy for a little bit. Oh, we're gonna see it at South Glens Falls Regional, right?
Oh yeah, I'll be there, and there we got that one, and then we got the one in Allentown tomorrow or this weekend. But yeah, KPA, you signed up for that one. I saw your name, right?
Nope, didn't sign up yet.
Oh come on, I just like.
I'm gonna bowl. I have a long time. I can bowl, or I can sign up. I have time. I am gonna play bowling. It's gonna be my third regional. Okay. I am bowling. It's gonna be my third regional over 44 feet out of the 3 that I bowled.
Yeah, Anthony's very upset about the oil pattern.
I think they did a horrible
job.
The regional schedule was terrible. They had one pattern that I remember. Now, Andrew, you bowled them all. I would have loved to, but I also wanted to go fishing and do some other things.
Excuses.
So, how many were under 44 feet, or 43, or 42? Seriously.
You're talking about the regionals?
Yeah, for East. Yeah, I just want to know.
Oh, how many we've bowled this year?
But this year was like 41 feet in Rochester. I think Binghamton was 42. And then the next one I can remember is they had the short one for the doubles in Delaware, and the rest of them were 43 plus.
Yeah, Jeremy Domingo made a post about it.
Yeah. Did he really?
Yeah, personally, I hate to give this answer, but like I try not to worry about what they put out. I try to just kind of attack.
Wait, I'm not griping. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, but
I'm
he's
left-handed.
left-handed.
Yeah. I would like a chance.
I misunderstood the question. Let's try that again.
And listen, so the other guy, like Newer and all the other lefties who bowl them all, they've got a pretty good idea, you know. And then I'm a ham and egger. I know where I fit in. I can make it every once in a while. But when you put out 43, 44 feet almost every time, what the heck?
I think that's what I wasn't sure what patterns, I guess. It's not that I haven't really noticed, but yeah, I would have to say it's difficult that the urethane ball isn't there all the time. And that's not an ironic statement. Like it's always there. So recently, I know that those patterns in general, they kind of deter urethane just by the length, but I'm not sure who picks the patterns actually, if it's Russ or if it's the sponsor or the center. It's kind of just an unfortunate string from picks.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, I don't really care. I will go bowl. I am not scared of long.
Oh, that's right. Earl Anthony is not your favorite.
No, I actually hate your Earl Anthony. just a fun fact. The past 2 times I bowled on, only one lefty has cash, and it was Packy Hanrahan.
Wow.
So, and that was out of 180 entries in East Providence twice. So it's a different center. I have a little bit better of idea.
180 entries over 2 tournaments.
Over 2 tournaments. Yeah. Sorry. So it's just not my favorite. I actually hate this pattern, but I'm gonna go with the fresh mindset, and I usually bowl good there, so I'm gonna be okay. Deke, I always bowl. I don't really care. I'm just saying, whoever picks the patterns this year or was a schedule maker did a pretty poor job. It can be a little different.
And plus, opinion.
Well, you look at the lane surface there, and then you pick out a 43-foot pattern. You've got 25-year-old heads and 15-year-old backs. You're going to put out more oil down lane where all the new synthetics are, where there's less friction. So now your ball is going to burn up in the front, and you're going to have to find out how to get it down through all the oil down lane. But you're going to try and throw a cleaner ball, and it's not going to pick up. And I'm going to shoot friggin' 400 over.
Well, if you speak it into existence, it will happen.
That's right, you are, baby. That's right.
I'm just saying, I know the center well. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying the pattern I thought was pretty poor.
You guys got to go back to what Bill and Bill said on our very first episode.
Just go bowl.
No. It was, I said, so you got this tournament coming up this week. I don't even remember what it was. And I said, you're bowling on this oil pattern. How do you attack? He goes, I didn't even know what we were bowling on.
Yeah.
I had no idea until you just told me.
Yeah. Well, I only looked
the same way
because I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
I just want to know. Yes, Don Harrington is correct. KPA is left friendly. Trust me, I know I bowled very well there the past few years. I just don't like this pattern. And it's a lefty pattern apparently.
I wonder if Glens Falls is tilted, like not the bowling alley, but the whole town, like is tilted
to the right. It's tilted to the river. The river's to the right, so everything's tilted to the right up there.
To the river.
Anyways, I'm gonna bowl it. I'm not. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just bowling. I'm gonna try and have fun, compete, and see if I can maybe win one for myself, even though I haven't bowled a lot. And we'll see what happens. But that was my gripe for the day.
I have so much faith in you, Anthony. It's not even funny.
What did you say?
I have so much faith in you, Anthony. I can't put into words.
You know what? I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Also, words have never been spoken.
I mean, I have faith in myself. I think I think I'll be all right. I'm going to sandblast the ball to like 80 grit. You're
on the right track.
All right. Well, it is time for us to go bowling. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations on your amazing effort a couple weeks ago.
In the summer.
Thanks so much,
Great
guys.
summer.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Good luck this year. I'm assuming they're starting January time. They haven't released a schedule.
Are you in the RPI?
Currently, yes. Currently, yeah. There's a few tournaments left, but so I'm gonna bowl the last 4. I missed a few in the middle, but I'm gonna bowl the last 4 and try to solidify my spot there. The top 4 get free travel and room, so I'm gonna go for that.
Oh, really?
But no, we're just gonna try to stay in 10th.
Good for you. Yeah. Do your thing, baby. Do your thing. I think you can do it for sure.
So yeah, good luck out there.
I don't want to bowl Nick Harris at Town and Country.
No, they
Oh,
can't.
you know what? We shouldn't go yet. One thing I wanted to get into real quick with the Exempt Tour, each Exempt player, which is
Andrew.
64. I get that number right? Yes.
Right now it's 43. It's 55 currently.
55. All right. The 64 is with the
PTQ.
and then also the 10-year title winners, right? They fill the field
Correct.
up.
Yeah, there's room for increasing of the fields. Yeah.
So they get the entry fee included every week, which is awesome. So they're not paying to bowl every week, of course. So you got to travel there and whatnot. And then that's all whatever the tournament you're bowling in. So then you have to make the cut to actually cash a check. But at least you guys are not having to put up that money every week, which is a good penny saved. Penny saved is $1 earned, they say.
Oh, Phil, you have no idea how much help Dad was. I should shout out my dad for being there. I should have shouted him out earlier. That's a good comment. What a guy he was. He was the best ball caddy I could have ever asked for, and father, but ball caddy mainly. No, he was the best. I was so lucky to have him there, to share the moment at the end with him, to hug him there. Oh my God, I'm gonna never forget that, and I'm glad that that's on video, because I'm just gonna have that in the vault forever. So yeah, he was the best.
Little viral moment. The
virus.
That whole end of the tournament there.
Yeah, it was nice. I was glad people appreciated that a little bit. It was nice.
All right, so thank you very much again. Good luck this year. Don't forget to catch us every week, every Thursday night, 7 p.m. throughout the entire bowling season. So we go right up until about April-ish, whenever our league ends. So this is the beginning of the whole new season number 5. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell to get alerts from the channel. I forgot this whole outro. Who do we thank?
It's been 6 months.
I know.
Thank you to my family.
Jack Scaccia, proprietor of Town and Country Lanes. Anthony at the lab, of course. Great co-host. Oh my God. Austin Van Buren, thank you so much. Can you let go of my hand? It's weird. And thank you to my family, Stephanie, Zach, and Ethan.
Jan
Andrew, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you guys so much.
Next week, this is Downlane Podcast.